Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Another crypto market update video for all of you. In this video, we'll be going over BTC, Link, BAT, Ether, and XRP. And the reason being is it's one of the selection of pairs that I've been covering more frequently over the past few days and weeks, and I feel it's important as there's been some updates on Twitter. Nothing has necessarily changed, however there's some crucial updates I want to inform you of and just ensure everyone is maintaining in synchronization with the market at every moment possible. So going over to Twitter very quickly, the Innovation Markets Twitter, of course, we've had a great week so far. A lot of the trades have been coming through. Bernie done the hot picks video, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, and my goodness, people have just been catching trades left, right, center. USD CAD, people have just been shorting, longing, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Many people have been utilizing the BTC levels that have been given as well, that I gave over there. We've got one. We've got another one over here with two positions, beautiful entries. Again, the XRP movement going upwards from the reversal zone covered in Trade Innovation 2. We've got Stephen James with a beautiful BTC entry over there, exactly where given. And another one, again, not a fan of the sensor, however, it's hilarious. And hopefully this never happens again to me. But great entries, everyone's been capitalizing. However, more importantly, yesterday, when we were at the daily high for BTC, XRP, and Ether, I gave these potential price points to keep on your radar in the event of a pullback. And I'm going to be, especially in this video, explaining more about how I operate on the crypto scale so no one's confused, everyone understands what's going on, and everyone starts to understand how and why I operate in a certain manner. So let's just go to these levels first. So BTC did not actually come through. It actually ended up just rocketing to almost $12,000. XRP, however, I gave 0.2430 and 0.24150. Now, if we go to XRP, 0.2430 was the first pullback zone from the daily high that rocketed and then spiked all the way down and closed precisely on this level on the 4-hour time frame. Now look at to 0.24150 as covered over here, precisely met. And again, on the 1 hour, you can see the power of the levels that have been given. We saw the first closure, little break below, wick fish, perfect tap, like absolutely to the T, and boom, we've started pushing higher. So this is looking like a very good trade now that could potentially just bolster higher, and we'll get to all of that in a minute as well. And also Ether, $366 to 362.50. So $366 was level 1 that was given over here. We will just modify that ever so slightly just to make it more precise, and 36.250. Again, I just quickly drew them on roughly to where they were, but as you can see from the daily high, we've absolutely melted, precisely taps that region, and we're now holding this level quite well. So again, another good potential trade opportunity there with the pullback, the spike, the manipulations taking us back down to this level. So hopefully from here, we can see a very nice potential push higher. So I marked this out. This was a nice little, almost a messy but a potential head and shoulders formation that has formed, and it looked like a very good zone that could potentially come through. And over here we've just got the wick fishing region. So before we really get into that a bit further, we'll just go upwards. And again, bias remains the same, nothing changes. Just be aware of these levels upon a potential retracement, and this is what I'm going to get into the video. The overall momentum and bias does not change, everything remains the same. However, I always give pullback zones, and there's many different ways to utilize these pullback zones I give. First and foremost, I do not always need to tell you to buy and sell. I do not need to give you the risk to reward tool. When I'm providing the zones and the pullback zones, it should give you more than enough insight. I'm giving you 99% of everything you need. However, I do not need to spoon feed, because that's where the lack of education side comes in. If I give everything 100%, there is never going to be a opportunity for you to learn. So I'm also giving you the insights. I'm giving you what I'm looking at. There will never be 100% correct. Nothing ever is. However, I do believe I have a very accurate way over a longer period of time. So going over to XRP as well, going to the daily, this was the first level I gave out over here, the reversal zone, as covered in the prior Trade Innovation 2. We saw that perfect curvature I was talking about. We started blowing up higher, and you can see now how on the daily time frame it is looking like when we zoom out, especially that we are just coming back down, retesting that area of liquidity, and potentially looking to start blasting up towards that targeted region of 285 and then pushing into that 30 cents region. So if you haven't caught the long opportunities from here already, again, if we go over through some of Bernie's trades as well, we've got someone 17% up already taking that XRP call. Got Stephen James again. This guy is just taking every trade we're giving and making crazy money. 2 of the buy zones given over there. It's just working out very well right now. And again, another USD CAD short that came through perfectly from Bernie. So if you didn't manage to capitalize off the opportunity there, the pullback zones are very effective. Whether that's a long or short trade, I'm giving you secondary opportunities if you've missed the original opportunity, but also focusing more on an intraday and day trading perspective, because some of you guys do still want a bit more of a frequent bit of action. If you did enter, let's just say long from the 24 cent zone over here, and you had a stop loss fairly average over here, you still would have been up around 3% on the peak of that movement over there. So there's never any harm, as I always say, in taking a 2 to 3% profit off a trade. It's still phenomenal. I know crypto moves frequently, but let's just say you even took off 50% or 80% of the trade here and just let the rest run all the way up to, let's just say, this potential swing trade that it could become. If you close off 50% here, then you've ended up making 50% divided by 2. So there's still a significant amount of profit on that trade over there. You could make around 7.5% on that trade if you simply just held and extended. So that's just one way to really put these levels into perspective. Judging from XRP now, we could be seeing a very large movement and bolster to the upside. And again, I'm giving you these levels because you can either enter here, just to show you as an example, and this is why I do not need to give you these levels, because it's putting the odds more in your favor. There was no harm in entering here either, and just having a wide stop loss back below the zone, or even putting it just below the second level. Or there's another method you can do as well. So let's just say you did set this all the way up here to start breaking into that level. You could very easily here, if we go to, let's just say even 28 cents, and drag this down, that's 13% on that opportunity. Drag that lower, you're still making 6%, which is a phenomenal amount to be making on any given trade, with potentials to go even higher. But again, this is how I operate. You take profit fairly early, whether that's 5%, 10% if it moves very quickly, or even 2 to 5% if it's been consolidating. The market right now is harder than ever. It's incredibly choppy and it's incredibly messy. So it's always good to put those opportunities in your favor. But I will always give these levels, because let's just say we've pushed up higher and then we see a potential pullback. It keeps you guys at least in, I guess you could say, aware of what's going on. At least you know that there is a potential pullback on the cards. Many people think they can just enter trades and it will simply just boom into profit. That's not how the crypto market operates. So it's always good to pay attention to these levels. Going to BTC over here on the weekly, as I said, let's go back to that. BTC did not pull back with Ether and XRP, which means we may see price instantly head to $12,000 to $12,100 handle from here, bringing the rest up with it. Link lagging behind, we'll get to that in a minute as well. But BTC, as you can see on the weekly time frame over here, we are nearing that $12,000 region as we speak. This target I gave a very long time ago, several weeks ago from this turning point over here. We are now finally approaching this region. And if we go over to the daily, you can see over here, I did give the BTC pullback zones of 11,450 to 11,400, which is here. If we just modify that ever so slightly as well, and 11,450. So just modifying those ever so slightly in the event that we would see Ether and XRP pull back as well. I was expecting BTC to potentially move with it. However, the fact BTC has managed to just continue rocketing straight to this upside target, as you can see, the prior head and shoulders exactly as stated, we are seeing that push higher now. So before we can really consider those shorts that I discussed in prior videos, especially in the top-down analysis video, we need to first just start looking at what's going to be happening around these regions. I can imagine we've seen many wicks like this before. Maybe it'll just do another wick like this. We need to first analyze exactly what is going on and understand what the market could be doing next. So whilst we're monitoring this, because BTC is elevated, we can disregard this level for now. However, I'm going to keep these levels here because I do believe in the event of a pullback, this will be the first real downside target we start achieving. Also, when you consider we haven't fulfilled the $9,600 CME gap just yet. And that's my personal belief. I know many people are still against that. However, that's just how I feel. So considering we didn't break lower, we are now pushing higher, and as you can see, this level should be coming through soon. So obviously with this push higher, there is an opportunity with the likes of Ether potentially having a much larger upside target first, at least coming back towards these regions here, or even if I go to the weekly, potentially pushing back up to these regions over here. We have a phenomenal trade opportunity on our hands, and if this does manage to push a bit higher, that does mean there is an opportunity for BTC, if I go back to the weekly, to potentially elevate and break towards this $13,900 region, and even just around the 13.5 midpoint before potentially closing lower. I still do not believe we are going to be breaking higher and really going parabolic just yet. As I've covered in the top-down analysis, there are still many areas lower that interest me, such as $9,600, $8,000, and even around $7,000. So I'm still keeping my mind fixated on these particular regions, and as you can see as well, as history tends to prove itself with very steep trend lines that elevate like this, it's more likely than not, that's almost identical to the prior one as well, that we may be seeing that push higher that I covered to spike up into this region and then dump all the way back down. So the steeper that trend line gets, the more likely we are to fall over time. This is where everyone starts getting excited, as we saw in 2019 when I did call this reversal as well. So I do believe we could be seeing something very similar. Potential wick fish to around 12,800, 13,200, and then we can start looking at some shorts around here potentially as well. So going back to Ether right now, just for a little trade update on this. From a daily perspective, again, prior high that was broken, we've pulled and broken through this high as well. Haven't breached the prior high yet, so many people may be looking to short even lower. However, we've come back down, we've retested this level. On the daily, you cannot really see the head and shoulders too well. However, when we go to the 4 hour over here, you can see again, if you entered on the level I've given, I do not need to tell you to buy and sell. I'm giving you absolutely everything you need. And if we have a trend line here, I'm not sure if it's come through just yet. It hasn't. So again, the second level aligns with this trend line. So if there is a spike down lower and you've missed this potential opportunity here, you can look to enter around this region. There's also nothing wrong, as I've covered many times before, in entering two positions. If you're risking 1% as a good example, just simply split that position into two. There's no harm in doing so. You can risk, let's just say 0.5% on the first level. And then when you get to the second level, you can risk 0.5% again. But because your stop loss will potentially be a lot shorter than the first position, you can have a bigger position size, a lot size or contract size, which means that 0.5% will still be the same 0.5% loss, but there's a much bigger potential return from the upside because the lot sizes, of course, will be bigger. That's something many people do not take into consideration. So do just consider there is a potential trendline retest over here and it may come down a bit lower. We have got these lows over here as well that I'm a bit considerate of. However, judging from how things are going so far, it does look pretty good. Now, one thing I used to do, especially in late 2018, early 2019, January or so, when I first started really discovering the strategy, I flipped the charts quite frequently, and I'm going to be introducing that back again as well throughout many of these breakdowns. And again, moving forward, when the community actually reopens, I want to do these kind of videos now to get everyone on the same wavelength as me, to understand how I operate. Because if you do not understand and I give you a level and then you moan that I didn't say buy or sell, then you clearly haven't really understood what I'm doing here. I'm not like many other people. I'm not a signal provider. I educate and I also give you pretty much everything you need. So if we were to flip the chart upside down very quickly, you can almost see whether that's a psychological trick that simply works just for myself or whether others see it as well. You can see quite clearly here there is a clear head and shoulders now forming. The shoulder, the head, the shoulder. So I always frequently look at the charts upside down as well. It's something I was teaching throughout the whole of 2019. And when you start looking at it this way, you realize that actually we are progressing in a downwards channel. If you looked at it from the inverse, there's the high, there's a lower high, there's another lower high. And then if you go here, we've got the low, lower low, lower low. So we are almost just bouncing down, which could potentially take us to the next head and shoulders from the inverse over here. Shoulder, head, potential shoulder around that $440 region. As I covered, short-term profit taking targets. If you've caught this long, just give it a bit more time, obviously, to at least come back to maybe $389. And if we see that push to $400, there's no harm in taking some profit early. So as you can see, this is what I'm looking at right now. From a Fibonacci perspective, we obviously have fallen a bit short of that 61.8% fib, which funnily enough is the exact level I just covered down below. However, if we do get the 50% up, let's see how the 50% retracement looks on this level. Again, not the strongest thing with crypto, but as you can see, that is a perfect 50% retracement, which means the 61.8 and the 50%, if they hold, it's more likely the first T1 Fibonacci extension target will come through, that being minus 27%. So if that does maintain as it currently is looking to do, there's a lot of wick fishing going on, may see another spike. This could lead us straight towards that $400 region and pushing towards $415 or so. And again, if you look at where that prior wick lined up, it's very nice, crucial turning point in the market. Everything seems to be adding up quite nicely right now. So I'm just giving you the overall picture of what I'm currently looking at. But obviously, if things did end up working more on this trend line perspective, and 1, 2, 3 we've broken below, and we came back and retested around here, no problem, we're only risking 1%. I'll simply enter again around this region or the Fibonacci region and expect to get an even bigger trade towards that second Fibonacci extension, T2, of the minus 61.8%. Now, want to make life a bit easier for yourselves, you can also see here the correlations I give with the trend line crossing points. Counter trend break, potential retest, you've also got a secondary trend line here as well. However, if you want to just do the usual crypto method, you can see right here, from wick through to the bodies, we've actually technically already fulfilled that. So in some events, this can work out quite well. If I flip this back to the normal side now, you can slowly start to understand how we're progressing higher. We've broken this floor. Let's make everything nice and clean again. Let's even get rid of the trend line. And in very, 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 very simple terms, let me just highlight this zone that I've drawn. Crucial level, in fact we can even drop that a bit lower. I just managed to find that level quite nicely. This zone here, making this a nice standout color for now, was a crucial level of support, resistance, support, bang, resistance. We've broken through. Initiative tells us we will likely retest and then potentially continue higher. Now we've broken. Once we start breaking through the next level over here, which of course is around here, even dragging that a bit lower and then dragging this a little bit lower to here as well, we can see once we start breaking through this level, this automatically becomes the next support. When you break resistance, it becomes support. So this could potentially lead us up. If we do not go the full way to fill the head and shoulders over here, we could likely see the pullback, bang, and then start blowing through the roof even higher. But for the time being, that's not likely to happen, really breaking much higher than there. And again, we've covered this in the prior video. Currently there, that level right there, let's pay attention to the 61.8% now. If we do see this move higher, a beautiful trade opportunity by the way, what we could be looking at is a pullback towards the 61.8% retracement, potentially pulling back down to retest this region here, around $380 or so. Wick fishing, of course, candle bodies hopefully closing around this region, but wick fishing pushing us down towards 380. I do not want to draw any more lines, it will get a bit messy. And then we can potentially see that push up higher towards the 78.6 and that $440 region. So that's what I'm currently looking at. And if you look at how the trend's currently moving, it does look like it could be following that level very nicely. So from a very quick drawing over here, let's just pay attention to $380 as well. It's a current level of resistance for us on the daily as well. So all we need to do is break above and we can start seeing that coming through very nicely, hopefully. Now, going back to XRP, oh my goodness, here we go. This could not get any better, and this is very likely going to be a phenomenal trade if it does come through how I expect. So going through the similar theory, if you missed the entry here, we've seen the resistance level here. We've pulled back up, we've come through, we haven't broken the prior resistance levels from the intraday and 4-hour perspective, just like Ether. However, the pullbacks come through, fulfilled this region, the wicks have pushed a little bit lower, precisely to my level. And what we could be looking at from here, when we go back to the weekly, as I showed you before, just elaborating on what we covered on Ether and flipping that through to this chart over here, bang, we've broken the crucial weekly resistance, we've rocketed higher. We've now come back down, we've spiked this level, but the wicks are maintaining this level elegantly, if I say so myself. Now look at this 3-pin pattern, one wick there, the lower spiking wick, and another third wick. This is essentially a head and shoulders formation, but on wicks on a weekly candle. That's a very powerful formation for me and something I've been using for a very long time. When you see that on the weekly, you can almost imagine that the next candle could blow through the roof, and then this leaves a nice 3-pin pattern formation printed on the charts. Now, going back to this over there, if you go to the daily, you can see now how that level is just showing that beautiful push higher. Stage by stage, those wicks are just going higher and higher and higher. For all we know, we could see one more retest here as well if the daily candle closes nicely. It may just tap the first level I gave, and now just boost higher. So the first level I will always put in green, which is the first real trigger point, and then the secondary level will be back below. I may even start putting them in blue, who cares, it's just a colour. So as long as you understand what I'm trying to get across here, the quicker we can all continue. Now, looking at how this is going with that beautiful curvature and the progression higher, I do believe it is only a matter of time now before this thing really just starts rocketing. If we get the wick from the wick on the Fibonacci as well, you can see A, B, C. We've hit our zone. We've got the 61.8% fib here as well, just below the level I gave you. We've rested on this level well. We broke through. We've maintained back above. We've retested it. We've retested it technically again. That's still a retest in my opinion. And the upside targets here now provide a beautiful opportunity from around 27 cents. We will make this target green. And if I duplicate this, push this up higher, Lord and behold, we have 28 cents as well. So just giving you a rough perspective on what you should be looking at on a particular trade setup like this from what I've provided so far. Let's just say we do see that push into that 27 cents region. A good example would be Stefan, who obviously took that trade from the very lows. Let's just say you entered at the level given over here and you're looking at a target over there. You can see even with a very wide stop loss, you're looking at 3.5%. If you place this safely below the zone over here, you're looking at 5%. If you push this even higher, you are looking at almost 7%. Push this to the full extension up here, you're looking at 10%. So this is one thing as well. This is why I do not always provide the risk to reward tools, because it's not actually that necessary. I'm giving you the zones of pullbacks. I'm giving you areas where we're looking to take profit. And when we go from the weekly and daily, I'm giving you the overall momentum and charts structure that I'm seeing. I'm giving you the longer term bias, the medium term bias, and the shorter term bias. So you're getting the full package. And when it comes to stop losses, and when it comes to risking 1%, not everyone has a large account. So some people cannot have very wide stop losses and still risk 1%. It can be relatively dangerous to their account. However, this is why I do not give it all the time, because some people need a slightly wider stop loss, which is why I always try to provide the most optimal levels necessary. If you've entered from the original 24 cents region over here, and let's just say my stop loss, for example, may get triggered early because I like to risk slightly larger lot sizes but have much smaller stop losses. But the crypto market is wild. You do not need to necessarily copy the exact stop loss, because the targets, I would say 95% of the time, always come through when I give them. Whether that takes a day, a week, or a month, they almost always come through. So your stop loss shouldn't matter too much. Looking at how this is working out here now, you could have had a very tight stop loss because this was a very key level of 24 cents. And again, you can just see how that will push you up to almost 9.5%. And again, copying this from over here, again, using Stefan as an example from the levels that I gave. And if we go back to some of the other people that caught these moves as well, this is today's one. And if we go back to the likes of BTC, let's just have a look at this again. So again, long-term follower, AC investing, amazing at trading, always trading some big boy numbers as well. That was at around, let's just say 11,350. So if we go to around 11,350, one of the levels I gave just below that CME futures gap, 11,350 was where I called the long from. Let's just use him as a good example here. So there was some heavy wick fishing. And again, when you see wick fishing like this, I guess he would have had to have had a stop loss fairly wide. But again, look at the TP now. He's probably up 3.5%. Maybe he had it even lower, or maybe he had it wider. He's still up a significant amount. And this is why I'm using these real life examples to show you exactly what people are looking at here. So we've got P-Wizard. P-Wizard, beautiful. He entered at around $11,300. So just using this as another example for all of you, $11,300 over here. He could have had a much tighter stop loss just below that wick over there, maybe just being a bit safer. He's probably up around 4% right now. So when you look at it from that perspective, you need to, I'm also teaching you as well, by doing this, that you need to look out for the wicks. You need to understand. If there's one thing I will give away for the time being, again, when we launch the community, I'll definitely be revealing more and more and more regarding stop lossing and education. However, stop losses for crypto are a bit different to Forex. You do need to cater for those wide ranges, because even if you catch that very top reversal, that major wick can come through that no one expects, and there's not a lot of relevancy or technical analysis to back these kind of wicks. It's simple manipulation, and when it comes to crypto, we can't always cater and adjust for these, so we need to take this all into consideration. You do need wider stop losses, but as you can see, if you had this down below, my goodness, is this thing just going and going, you would be up around 4%. So all in all, we are still looking towards going to our targets. Just pay attention to this level. If we do see this pullback from here, then I do believe BTC, considering it is going a bit further than the others, may just see that pullback to retest this broken resistance over here as well. That's all I'm really looking for on this right now. I still have my original long running as well, by the way. I closed out 80%, but once we start getting to this level, the final target, then I will close that out. Now let me just quickly check on MT4 what price I actually entered that trade at. I can't be bothered to go on Twitter and find out. I'll just quickly check here. So from $10,273, which is over here, I gave that buy opportunity. I believe it was from here. When we first pulled back down, I said the reversal was coming through. And again, if we go on Twitter, no doubt I can find that chart somewhere. We go to here maybe. I think I've shown it in the prior video anyway in Trade Innovation. However, let's just see if it's here. So yep, this was here, 10,274. This was when I first gave this incredibly tight stop loss, almost got wiped out. And as you can see from here, I was even targeting $12,500 from the 24th of September. I've been giving this exact entry and bias out for an incredibly long time now. If 11,600 is broken, T2 can be extended to 12.5. Well, 11,600, where are we now? My goodness, have we broken that exact level? So as we've started piercing through, we can now take that 11.6 into consideration with a potential push back down wick fishing to these levels that are given. And if it bounces, pulls back here, it's simply another good long opportunity to see that final push higher. However, the way this thing's going right now, hopefully it just breaks through, start spiking up towards these regions over here of around, let's just say 12.8, and then we can start shorting this bad boy all the way down. So that's looking great to me. 1 hour, again, just pushing elegantly, beautifully, and seductively, respecting those levels. Now, let's just go back here one more time to the 1 hour. Looking at this, it has slowed down a bit, but judging from the way it's been moving, even if you go to the 5-minute chart or the 1-minute chart, you can see it literally pinpoint touched. So it shows we are in synchronization with the market at present. And I'll go back to the daily for now and just let this do its thing. We've got both positions running. Hopefully we can see some phenomenal returns on this. Now, to finalize, I wanted to cover BAT and Link as well, because I'm a bit of a cross point with Link. And also my friend recently invested around £10,000 into BAT around this region when I said I'm expecting a solid 100% plus return on this. So this analysis is basically for him, but also for everyone else as well. Now, I'm still heavily fixated on BAT pushing to the upside. I believe even if we see a push lower down to the Fibonacci, it honestly does not matter. I've told him already, it doesn't matter, just buy here. Do not take chances sometimes, or if you want, just put 50% here and wait for another 50% lower. But what we're looking at here, from this weekly perspective as well, and if I go to the daily or the monthly, it doesn't show too significantly, but from the weekly perspective, if we just look at the cruciality, a very powerful word there, thought I'd throw that in at the 20 cents region, you can just see how many times this zone has been respected with the wicks and candle bodies. We've got the wick to body fib right now. If you push it a bit higher, it's technically closed a bit through and retested, which again does leave a possibility of around 16 fit to 1580 coming through, but it really doesn't matter because we're looking at how wide this Fibonacci is in play right now. And if I push this a bit lower, back to where it was, you can see we're perfectly respecting the 61.8 fib right now. And this is why the crypto market can play tricks many times. You think it's broken, but it can just whip back through and many people can switch to a short bias. This is more of a long-term trade. You do not necessarily margin trade this. So it's not something you want to just be scalping in and out of or intraday trading. It's a long-term hold. And I've said this to my friends as well. From a monthly perspective, when you look at where we are, again, like XRP, Ether, BTC, absolutely anything in comparison to where we were, at around $1.10. In the grand scheme of things, this Fibonacci at 50 cents pretty much and 60 cents. We're at 20 cents. So you can potentially 3 times, you can triple your investment. You could potentially have 30 grand once this full movement comes through. And I do truly believe he will, as will many other people that have invested even larger portions of that. So even if it pulls down to here, yes, you could have potentially invested there instead and waited. But looking at how this thing's moving right now, judging from how it's kind of stabilized compared to the rest of the market, I do believe it's extremely overdue a large movement to the upside as well. So even if you see a pullback lower, we'll simply just look at buying some more, accumulating, dollar cost averaging. The crypto market is a long-term focus. We do not focus on the short term, because in the grand scheme of things, who cares on a 20 cents investment or a 16 cents investment if it's going to inevitably end up at 50 cents or 60 cents anyway? It doesn't matter if it's here or there, you're going to make a much larger return than you would in the stock market or the Forex market in a relatively quicker space of time. So you do not want to get caught into that instant gratification, but you have to focus long term. And when you start to think about that and you realize what your potential investment could be, even if you experience a bit of drawdown, you could be looking at a rather large and substantial return on investment. So we'll get rid of the fibs for now, and I'll just quickly plot these zones over here to make life easier for everybody. I'll plot that around there as well in the mid 60 cent zone. If you go to the daily on this, you can see as well, we're not only resting at this support, we have been failing to break lower. It isn't looking the strongest, I'm not going to lie. However, I do believe this could be some major trickery. And from the daily time frame as well, can you just see how many times this level has come back and forth again and again and again? And I covered this before as well. This bad boy trend line over here, again, depends how you really want to draw it, but I do believe there is a huge room for this to come all the way back up, or at least come back to 30 to 40 cents in a very short space of time. And if we start looking at this, considering we've got a support floor over here as well, we draw this trend line, you can see we are holding this quite nicely. So there is that nice little pendant formation forming. Many people call them triangles, pendants. I just, it's just a trend line for me and a bit of support. And if you look, is there even a yeah, let's do this instead. Oh, almost spilt my coffee. It's probably a sign I need another one. But if we just draw that from there to there, and then we put that there, for example, you can see we are nicely consolidated within this region. Let's just make this stand out. I don't really like too many of the same colors going at once. So let's just say we're within this zone right now. If you want to draw this from there to there, for example, if you want to do the trend line from there to there, we've technically broken it and we're just retesting it now. So you may be seeing that come through. If you draw it this way as well, I'm sure that will leave a very similar result. You can see we've come through. The lines will make them white as well, and we'll make them a bit bigger just to show you. You can see the trend line has essentially come through. We've broken through, we've retested again. So it is looking very promising in my eyes. And if you draw it back to how it was up here, and then you put this back down there as well, I do believe we could be seeing a fairly substantial breakout, another push lower just to retest this region, and bang, I do believe this really could just start bolstering towards that level. But to summarize and to go back to Link, now because Link had a very significant parabolic run in the earlier stages of 2020, or even in the mid stages of 2020, again, told everyone to sell from here, very stupid to buy from this level. We have that unfulfilled region I covered in Trade Innovation 1, it was, I believe. Now, looking at how this is moving now, although we've seen a very significant reversal point from here, we are holding this level very well. I know I did state we do have a potential pullback to 15 cents on the card, and we are still leaving that open. However, when you start looking at this price action now, again, 15 to around 18 cents, but this is in the case that it does push higher. When we start to look at Link a bit more carefully, especially on the 4-hour time frame, we have seen a very similar formation to what I just said on BAT. You can see the trend line is here. Again, that is a bit messy though. You could even just draw it from there because it is a bit clearer. You have technically almost retested that already as well. We have almost pulled back, but when you just look at how this is currently reacting, it's not looking very strong. We have got that level there from the wicks, the wicks, the wicks. However, something is just telling me with Link, considering the huge movement it's already had, and considering we have not even fulfilled these downside levels yet, the majority of the pump and dump is complete. And many people that are holding this right now, I do believe they are simply holding this because they are just expecting it to continue bolstering higher and higher and higher. If you go to the daily trend line, then we have a big downside room to fulfill. So at the very least, we still need to come back to around, I'd say $6 to $5 to $3. But at the very least, I do believe $6 should be quite easy to come back down. This will scare many people and they'll think it's the end of Link, and then boom, we will start rocketing higher. But as you can see, the arrow's been here for a very long time, pushing this up towards that $32 region. I've had this left on for a very long time now, but just look at that empty region. No matter how you draw this, whether that's from there and whether that's from there, there is an empty region over here that has not been fulfilled and retested since we've broken higher. So something inevitably at some point has to come back down, and I do believe it's going to be around $4 to $3 at its peak, especially if we start seeing this push up higher, because look at how these are all moving. Now, again, pushing higher, again, just being a bit strange as usual, but again, consolidating. But this has already done its movement and we're just dropping lower and lower and lower. So considering this hasn't continued the upside momentum, it shows sellers are leaving the market at a fairly rapid pace, and they're likely switching back to the likes of BTC, XRP, Ether, Litecoin, all of the others, basically. This has done its movement now, and I believe we're just going to slowly progress down, fill this region and push up higher. But if BTC does see that full movement down, this will especially come through. If we see BTC come down to like $9,000, $8,000, $7,000, you can rest assured this will absolutely melt down to that price range as well. But this is my fixation, this zone here, and just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on that as well. But I hope this has again kept you in synchronization with the market. I hope you guys are staying in tune with the Innovation Markets content, because again, beautiful stuff going on so far, and hopefully everyone's in a good profit right now. And if not, hopefully everyone that caught the BTC entry as well from these levels over here is still holding with me, because we are in significant profit right now. Very, very good stuff. And if we see that push higher, we're all in good hands. So I can't wait to see what happens over the next few days and over this week. And again, guys, please leave your feedback, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, drop a comment. If there's any pairs you want covered in particular, I'm happy to cover that in future episodes or in another trade innovation market breakdown when we're going back to back with Bernie. So again, comments are always appreciated. Make sure you've subscribed, post notifications on, and I cannot wait to show you guys what is coming forward with Innovation Markets as well. So have a good day, and we'll probably catch up in a few days with another video. If there's anything else you need covering with, just let me know. But I hope that has covered everything for now.